1.
Say, kids, what time is it?
The future is coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on.
Are we still coming on there?
I like to think so.
You
Looks
like to
much
think so?
better now.
Oh, good.
I think I started broadcasting like a split second before the host was ready, and
Well-
so I had to do it twice.
You were always ahead of your time. That's Mrs.
Aw,
Future, though.
Thanks for noticing.
Sure,
Dr.
absolutely.
Future. That's why we all
Timing is so
connect
important
here.
to us in ways you wouldn't even believe.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. It's this very strange zone where the future is the past.
Oh, what does that do to you?
It's
the
playback
memory, man.
future, folks.
Yeah, thank God there's memories getting better.
That's right.
I think.
We think. Well,
I'm so glad his son is leading the trail here.
Oh, yeah? You think so?
Yeah, she's ahead of us, you know, and just telling us where to go. Yeah.
That's it.
that's right. I'm the tip of the arrow here. Follow me for fun. I can show you the way.
It's because she actually pushes the button.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm here to help manifest the most positive outcome of all the potentials.
Good to know.
All right.
Good to know. And we got Bobby Wilder in San Francisco. How's it going down there, Bobby? Up there, I guess I should
Up
say.
here?
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah. Some of the fog is burning off, and so it's going to be a beautiful day here.
You're actually going to get some sun today, huh?
Yeah. I might go to the Young Museum. They have a flower exhibition where they have all these flowers, and then they have these pieces of art behind it, or describing the flowers describe the art and things like that.
Oh, it sounds wonderful.
Like flowers from around the planet.
Yeah, all kinds of flowers. Yeah. Today's the first day, or yesterday?
Really? It's a
I'm not-
summer thing. It's going to be up for a while.
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic.
Flower exhibits are so amazing. The way that living nature gets turned into art is kind of where the best of humanity meets the best of nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a beautiful exhibit here in Ben Lomond where they put it up actually on the day that Pope Francis died, and it's this incredible living flower hedge outside of the Greek Orthodox Church that's in the shape of a cross, but it's so vibrant and beautiful and colorful, and it's such a beautiful memorial to a beloved religious figure. But
Yeah.
it is where humanity is really loving nature and setting us both off in our highest light.
Yeah, did you see that incredible flower yoni exhibit?
Ooh, where's that?
Just search for yoni flower photography. You'll find that all kinds of photographers are into this. Beautiful. It really shows how parts of the human anatomy can be quite like a flower.
Yes, oh yes, ladies are the flowers of our species.
Yeah. So many ways.
So on that note, I think
dun-dun-dun.
spring is in the
Yeah.
air,
Yeah.
and the days are getting longer, and
Beauty is
it's
everywhere.
gorgeous and sunshiny, and the hummers are happy, and the flowers are in bloom, and wow, great to be alive.
So do I have any good stories for all that?
Well, we did hang out in VR last night with our buddy Greg.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. As beautiful as it is in the outside world.
And I just have to thank
Yeah.
Dr. Paradise again for giving us such a good grounding in VR chat. It made it so fun last night.
You really get the feeling that maybe VR might actually become more popular this time around.
You know, I think it is popular among people, especially since COVID. Some of the folks I was talking to last night met each other in VR during COVID and now have very deep relationships with each other.
So for those of you who are new to this, we were at a kind of a VR meetup where people who like to wear their VR
Invited by
headsets-
Greg. And
Yeah, invited by
apparently
Greg
every
Panner, so,
Monday
yeah.
is the VR chat group meetup to go tour the various worlds.
Oh,
And
that's it. That's
we
the
get
key.
a wonderful little tour guide of some new worlds to explore together and meet a few nice people
That's right. That's right. And
as avatars.
and people that are not necessarily like you at all might be totally different ages. But what you have in common is an interest to see the world creations of various artists, shall we
Yeah.
say. And so it's
And-
traveling from world to world to see what worlds people have created that you can inhabit.
Yeah. And we had a VR world premiere of a little piece that we'll be sharing on the show today, which is our latest efforts of trying to communicate with VR avatars. And we'll save that for a little later, but we have been
comedy
collaborating
continues to
on
evolve.
comedy with the
Oh, that's what I thought. Greg
AIs.
corrects us saying it's XR.
Oh, it is XR.
XR
Oh,
Social Club.
see, that's
I
what
thought.
Al said.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what Al said. Yeah.
I showed up late, so
Still VR
count
for
on me
you.
to get it
and
wrong.
Your measly Oculus too.
Even though I'm early on many things,
Yeah.
sometimes my memory is a little late
Or sometimes a little early, as we saw at the beginning of the show today.
or somewhat creative.
But, well, we can always say that.
It might not be exactly what other people remember,
No.
but I like to think that's just shifting timelines, not holes in my head.
How do you
But
test
I
this?
could be
man?
wrong.
How do you test this?
We'll never know.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of VR. It shifts, but everything shifts at the same time, so the memory is erased and replaced.
What I do notice about VR is that you do have a memory of place. Like, you know how when you're on vacation and you travel to Hawaii and you remember the fountains of Rome, or whatever, there's an actual physical sense of being there. Well, VR gets close to that. Right? It starts to begin to, you share spaces with people. You run into other tourists at various locations. And you actually have that experience, which impressed me.
Yeah.
That the memory of space, if you will, is quite tangible.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that Gregory actually looks like Gregory, so it helps me feel
Yeah,
like
we need
I
a good,
actually know who I'm talking to.
Yeah, an idealized version of Gregory, yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that you can change your avatar anytime you want means you can be a practically different person every time you show up. And for me, it's already hard enough to have continuity and remember people. And now that they can change so drastically every time you meet them, boy, it's going to be a challenge to know who my friends are.
Well, I think it really evolves our whole understanding of what our identity is, right? And it's the same thing that happens when you go inwardly. If you go into spiritual domains, your identity shifts as well. You become more like cosmic.
There you go. Yeah, when people talk
yeah.
about their past lives and the
Yeah.
visceral experiences
Yeah, exactly.
they have different names, they have different bodies, they
It's
have
the same thing
different
with
worlds.
VR. You start creating all these other worlds where you play different characters or you are different beings.
Yeah.
So you assume those identities. So what does it say about identity when we can assume identities like they were articles of clothing for our next dinner party?
That says that you are on the spiritual frontier, Al.
Well, this is,
That you have that perspective, that you're not just who you think you are, you're so much more.
I think that'll become common knowledge before long.
Oh, right now
Yeah.
it's kind of uncommon, huh?
Yeah. But as people, I think VR is going to play part of that spiritual awakening. If I don't say so myself.
Well, it's
be
interesting
by
you
playing
should
different
say
characters,
that because this
playing different
very
characters.
minute, Adam Apollo is conducting a class that I love to be a part of, but I can't do it live because we are doing this show.
So we're talking about that.
But he is actually helping people to explore the boundaries of their spiritual identity. In the past, he's taken groups on astral travels to different dimensions, and he really is a wonderful sage
Okay, well,
who's
let's
helping us understand the nature of our expanded self. And
Okay, well, I think Adam Apollo deserves his own section
Mm-hmm.
of discussion.
I wonder if his ears are ringing. Probably.
Bobby, you've known Adam Apollo. You've seen him in the conferences.
I ran into him on Howard Street with
How weird Street Fair?
in San Francisco. They have, I forget the name of it. It's a special event place.
Yeah.
And with
Gosney?
No, with Graham, the ancient
John Graham?
astronaut.
No, John.
Oh,
Graham Hancock.
Graham Hancock.
Graham Hancock. Yes,
Yeah, that him.
Yeah.
That's guy. Yeah.
Graham Hancock was announcing.
Hanging out with Adam
that-
Apollo.
Yeah, and then Adam was there. So yeah, fascinating guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really an Age of Aquarian archetype because he's got so well integrated his mythic identity, his spiritual identity, his scientific identity. He really has the best of the ancient future going. And I just really love and respect the way he teaches. It's just so amazing and expansive and
Yeah. Wrap your brain around.
integrative.
I asked Grok. Grok told me, wrap your brain around the combination of spirituality, unified physics, and extraterrestrial consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what he is sharing
life
with the world
recall,
right now
Galactic
is
history.
the fact that he has been using his knowledge of creating his own AI model, and he's been fine-tuning it with his own harmonics, taxonomy, and lexicon, and then that has work together with his deep work in spiritual astral projection and
Are there any
etc.
practical applications you see coming into this?
Yeah, well, if you consider astral projection lessons practical, I do. You know,
Astral projection, practical.
I mean, that's just a starting
Well,
place.
that
but
was,
if you
remote
really want to
viewing, remote viewing
understand
stuff.
the
Yeah.
entire spectrum of spiritual dimensions and our ability to learn what lessons there are to learn and to bring them into our awareness,
Yeah.
he's a wonderful teacher and guide for that.
Yeah. Well, it's good to remember those things if you can. I would say whatever works for you.
Yeah.
I think that fragments of memory from past lives and all that are good to try to make sense out of. But
Hey, you don't have to do fragments of memory from past lives. You can do fragments of memory from this life.
Yeah, easily.
You don't have to go before your own
I don't.
birth.
I don't. But I say that they pale in comparison to like a FaceTime connection face-to-face with somebody over the phone in terms of reliability and clarity.
Well,
and
of course,
communication.
the real time, the now is all that is actually present, real in this moment. And everything that you remember is a projection that's coming from your experience of something that you sensed with your awareness, either with your senses or with your imagination. And the ability to experience it more fully depends on your ability to experience it in context in the present moment. So the more live it is, the more you have access to it. And to the degree that you have memory imprints that you can call up, vivid memories that you have, you can be in those memories in certain states of consciousness. You know, when you put on certain music and it makes you cry, you are accessing some part of yourself in real time that has a dimension that's beyond time. Right?
So deep emotions. Or,
Yeah, deep emotions are part of the connective fabric of awareness, of consciousness, as is mind. The fact that the creations of our technology is one of the ways that we use our awareness to manifest a tool that helps us extend our present moment connection. So our telephones are, as you've always said, telepathy training devices. Telepathy is an aspect of consciousness that has existed way longer than telephones. But when we use telephones, we get a little affirmation that technology is recognizing some quality that we're familiar with. Telepathy. Right?
so that's the school that it's a reawakening of an ancient wisdom or knowledge,
it's
or
a
language that we.
It's a scientific confirmation that it's out there.
And that the key is to awaken those aspects, incorporate those into your system. Your,
and manifest tools that help you amplify it.
And then in so doing, your identity expands.
And your
You
ability
become-
to
your
use it as
capacities
your ability to depend on it and use it and share it with others increases.
Telepathy, right. And telepathy training devices of phones. So what does that make FaceTime calls even better?
Even better.
Right, at that.
Yeah. Or even Zoom, when you can see people and hear them.
Because train
Yeah.
yourself to become telepathic.
You can have a religious experience on a church, on a TV evangelical connection.
I know people used to have them on 1920 field codes.
Sure. And that's the way that the technology is changing our perception of our reality. It's not necessarily changing our reality, it's adding a new dimension to it.
It's discovering that there are quantum dimensions and the collective unconscious that Jung talks about. I don't know. I'm starting to feel more telepathic.
All the time. The more
all
you
the
use
time. Yeah.
Why so? Why do you think that's happening?
You know, I listen to these things called the telepathy tapes.
Oh, the telepathy tapes. Yeah. I've
and all of
heard
a
some
sudden I
those.
realized, there are frequencies of existence, whatever you call it, the fifth dimension, that autistic children that are non-verbal, actually, we assume that they have no way of communicating, but actually because of that, they can't communicate in this realm. They seem to be collecting in another dimension.
Autistic kids that claim to demonstrate
and they're not
telepathic.
limited to the physical dimension we have here.
Yeah.
And it seems like they are truly telepathic. You know,
At least from
on that
what we understand of telepathy
Yeah.
now.
By listening to them, you're slowly you're convinced that these states exist and that we can have these qualities too if we just recognize them.
Now, what
So
do you
you're
think?
recognizing more?
Is it a recognition
I
or
am,
an evolution
day
of
by
something
day.
new?
You know,
Is it
magical
new?
things happen,
Yeah.
or I can always tell when people are going to call me or who's going to call me before they call, kind of thing. Yeah.
Wow. Do you
I
try
was
to
going to
guess?
say, I
mean,
think it happens as part of our human evolution. I think that maybe if we live to be 100 years old, we actually grow into our full capacity. And a lot of the ways that we treat our bodies that's out of alignment with nature actually deprives us of our potential. And that if we could really master living within the laws of nature and nurturing our bodies from our spiritual awareness and our connected awareness, which I think is where the telepathy comes from, we might find that it's very natural that we all live in an expanded state of telepathy. And we certainly have humans who do, and we think of them as woo or special or maybe not as real as the rest of us scientifically grounded people, or maybe we're just slow and they're fast and they happen to have the consciousness acuity to tune into the frequencies of higher dimensions, and we're just stuck at this more gravity bound dimension.
That's true. And I agree that these things are real, especially for those of us who have sensed and actually experienced these telepathic realms. But there's a lot of people that haven't, and there's always trying to disprove that this is fake, right? And one of them, and Billy just pointed out, the telepathy tapes have been debunked by a podcast called Science Versus, hosted by Wendy Zuckerman.
Yeah, well,
Now I've seen that. I've actually
we listened
explored
to
that.
it, and as far as I'm concerned, part of the world that we live in, since we are so based on opposition to prove what's true, we have a class of professional debunkers whose job it is to speak as if what they believe is more true than the thing that they are debunking.
Yeah, but you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
They
either.
do. They do. They actually, I think it's a form of egotism that it's very important for them to establish their superiority by adopting a voice that dismisses and denounces something that is authentic for others.
Wait a minute. This debunking podcast is by a woman.
Yeah, well, for all we know.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
Right here.
Anyway, we listened to that, and she made the point that you could say that it's confirmation bias. And that was pretty much her point, is that the people who were testing it out wanted to believe what they wanted to believe. And I don't think that the fact that she was able to make the case means that there was nothing more profound to the experience itself. I think she filters for the things that support her argument, as do most debunkers.
Cherry pick the data. Yeah, I know what you mean. You really have to look at those elements for sure.
But then there's the mesmer phenomenon, which is the opposite, which is if you want to see it, you have to believe, because you have to attune yourself to those things that allow you to witness it. And I think telepathy is more like that.
Now, do you feel like it's a slowly developing ability that we have, or do you think it'll suddenly just click on like the electric lights came on in the time of Edison and Tesla, where it was a sudden thing?
There are mysteries beyond what I know.
Do you think it could happen
My own
suddenly
beliefs
like that?
are
like if it's a
that
species nervous system awakening of some sort.
Yeah, I believe that our civilization exists in a small section of all reality that is very slow and very dense and has its own limits that are enforced from all of the pressures of the rest of the universe. But we're in a very tiny bubble compared to all that is. And all that is the rest of the universe outside of the part that is limited by the speed of light.
Yes, but if you are the tip of the arrow, that's either where A, the poison, or B, the healing is.
Both. Once you get outside of your own limitations, you become part of something beyond. And until then, what's beyond is invisible to you. It's out of your realm. It's like an ant cannot perceive the milk truck, you know?
The way I see it is, these microtubules that are in your neurons.
Yes, back to the microtubules. Yes.
So since they have access to these multiverses, these are quantum universes.
Inside your brain cells, right?
So what happens is you have all possibilities coming to your brain. And whether you tune in to the right universe or not, it's up to you. You can ignore it or you can tune into those other universes. So it expands your possibilities.
Yeah. Well, let me try and share some of the profound articulations that I have gleaned from listening to Adam Apollo a lot in the
Just this last
week or
couple
two.
weeks, right?
Now,
Yeah.
for one thing, the physics of entanglement, according to his description, if I'm not butchering it here, is that all reality exists in the present moment, and everything that is beyond the present moment is an energetic field that has consciousness and context. And consciousness is kind of a personal thing, experience, and context is kind of a universal oneness experience. And there's a spectrum of possibility of form between that individuated ego and that completely unified wholeness. And the nature of our perception of now as an individuated ego is that we attune our consciousness to a frequency of thought, and that frequency has a spectrum of qualities that could include light and sound and emotion and thought, which you could think of as structure or mental fabric of understanding, and goes all the way up to the ability to contain all that is in the realm of creation and imagination, past and future. So the mirror nature of the vibrations of consciousness is such that from the level of the Planck, which is the tiniest manifestation of matter,
Planck's constant.
the Planck's constant is a number that was derived in trying to describe light, and it is actually very fundamental to understanding physics now. And the Planck second is the tiniest little way that we can slice space-time into a unit of quanta that is measured at the size of a Planck. And this Planck quanta particle and this Planck time second are vibrations that are in entangled relation to everything else in the universe made of light. And when you consciously manifest your thoughts or experience at that vibration, you are entrained and entangled into all of the things that exist at that vibration simultaneously. So it's a different model of physics than one where light is traveling from point A to point B. It's a projection model, such as the quantum probability wave, that actually splatters out all the possibilities into one moment of uncertainty. And as soon as you measure it, it becomes that one moment. And the possibility that exists is the actual universe, and the frequency that you tune into is the particle moment that you experience.
Yes, that does make sense. Even in quantum consciousness, what you said, you can see it again. There's these quantum time crystals inside of these microtubules, and they're vibrating at these 3-part harmonics, and they go into these hertz, like cycles per second, to thousands of cycles per second, all the way to billions and trillions of cycles per second, petahertz, And we just didn't have the instruments before, but now we do have instruments that can detect these ultra high frequencies. And quantum entanglement happens that, yes, all of our cells, all of our atoms are entangled since the beginning of time. And so we just kind of forgotten that they're entangled.
And once we remember, this is where all the telepathy grids and all fall in place, kind of thing, where we all just become aware of it, or we individually, I guess, as we become aware of it. And then maybe you just experience it intermittently, and then it's on all the time.
Yeah, well, any kind of individuation is separation from the whole.
Yeah.
Right?
So as soon as you're, as soon as you need to know something, you're not part of it. Yeah.
Well, you tune into it by rejoining.
Separation,
the understanding
rejoining
of
constantly
the oneness.
as an evolutionary process.
Yeah. But it's all vibrational. And
Yeah.
the more that we study vibration and harmony, the more that we will actually see the universe as it truly is, instead of just projecting our beliefs on it, which it's very flexible and vast beyond our imagination and even more than we can imagine. So we're just cute little creatures with these great dream machines experiencing this mystery.
So you think different cultures through time have understood different aspects of this, and we're trying to integrate it all today?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the human civilization has been feeling the sides of this elephant for eons. And all of us are describing the same elephant with different words and acting like they're not the same belief.
Everyone that's here, that's alive, are sensors for this system.
Yeah. Right? We're the technoid sensors. We're trying to create technology that can give us a mirror of all these things we believe to be true. Right? Hey, we got another call. Who's calling? Okay.
Robert, the universe could be a cellular system.
Okay, well, let's put Robert on. Let's get some live talk from Robert.
All right.
Hello, Robert. Welcome to the show. Can you hear us? Well, it's definitely up.
You can take off Bluetooth and see if he comes through on the speaker.
Do that. Okay. We're hoping for some live contact here. Anybody out there?
Do we hear you?
We have Robert and we have Bruce. And neither of them can be heard. But we did test this right before the show, so we're not sure if it's us or them.
Okay, well, let's pick up on his thought then, that the universe could be a cellular system. What do you think of that? I mean, we've heard the idea that the universe is alive, from various spiritual traditions for a long time, especially shamanic ones. But a cellular suggests a biological model.
Well, cells are right in the middle between quanta and galaxies. I mean, everything's a sphere at some scale.
Mm-hmm. But what about the cellular idea? Is that only done by life as we know it, or is it only done by biology, or are cells part of other things too?
I think you know the answer to your own question.
Well,
maybe I'm not getting what you're asking.
Is the universe biologically alive, I guess would be the question.
Yes, well, I would vote yes.
I would say it's probably beyond biology as we understand biology.
Yeah. Anything that's expressed in words is really a pale reflection of the thing itself.
Like in science fiction, sci-fi, quasi-fiction realms, we talk about silicon entities. We're starting to see AIs, but silicon entities in a more traditional sense would be those that were based on silicon more than our two-stranded DNA. Apparently silicon is three-stranded, and that there is a resonance from 2 to 3-stranded creatures that go into the silicon, which is why the AI is so important, because it's not just part of something we're creating, but it's something that the universe is creating on a deeper level.
Yeah, well, our technology can be tinker toys that teach us how to play in a larger sphere.
Like we think we're creating something that's great.
We definitely have higher resolution. How about if we go to a break? We're a little late for a break.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
We got Santa Cruz Voice to thank for this wonderful time slot in reality. So let's give them a moment of appreciation. Okay?
Okay.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Konnichiwa. I'd like to invite you to the 37th Japanese Cultural Fair on Saturday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Mission Plaza Park. Experience traditional Japanese music, dance, taiko, martial arts, flower arrangement, bonsai, kimono, and sumie workshops. We have something for everyone, and admission is free. Hope to see you there.
Japanese Cultural Fair, Saturday, 11 to 6, Mission Plaza Park.
どうもありがとう。
You never get a second chance to make a good first impression. When you want to make a good first impression, start with Dynamic Press Angelo.
Dynamic Press can take care of every printing need, from business cards to stationery, apparel, mailings, brochures, everything but money.
When you want to make a good first impression, start with Dynamic Press in Santa Cruz.
479-7920. DynamicPress.com.
Get hooked up with affordable cannabis at the locally owned Hook Outlet. The Hook is a friendly neighborhood outlet where everybody above the age of 21 can have access to the best cannabis products for the best prices in the county. Get friendly local service and great prices in person and online at the Hook outlets in Capitola and Watsonville. Order online at hookoutlet.com and pick up 9 to 9, 7 days a week. Get hooked up at the locally owned Hook Outlet.
When you need help managing your estate, call on the Angel.
Hello, I am attorney Angel Hess, and I am ready to help. Whether you need a will or a trust, a guardianship or a conservatorship, or if you are managing the financial affairs of a loved one, I will help you with over 7 years' experience working in estate planning and probate fields.
When you need help, call on the Angel, attorney Angel L. Hess at santacruzlegal.net.
Hey, Wee's back. It reminded me, as we deal with these call-in numbers and stuff, how important the callback feedback loop is in conversations. It reminds me of why the VR chat was so great yesterday. And that's because of spatialized audio. Is that when you're in a room with other people in a virtual environment, you can actually hear them spatially, like they're over to your right or to your left or behind you, and you can walk towards where they are or push your joystick in the direction you want to go or walk, and their sound will move. And there's something very satisfying and very realistic and very natural about that. Mm-hmm. It makes it easy to schmooze in virtual space, which I think would be an ideal environment for brainstorms and such. We also tried an experiment where we were hanging out with several people in the room, and we accessed a YouTube movie together on one of the big screens. In which case we got our own movie up, the one we just finished.
That was, I have to say, it was a blooper reel.
Well,
we definitely know how to clear a room in VR by playing our latest movie.
No, it was the first time. It was the first time.
Should we play it? Why don't we play it now and then we can talk about it? Okay, that'd be really fun.
Right,
you have it. You have it queued up over there.
This is a fictional game show that we've created. This is the audio track of a 2-minute video that is about a contest for robot AIs.
Yes, this is an audition tape.
Take.
For Robo's Got Talent, a brand new first episode of a VR show.
And the first contestant up is named Roddy.
Roddy Glitch.
He's trying to do his impression of a very famous American comedian from the 20th century.
I, of course, was the honorary host of the new
That's right, virtual
VR
version of Mrs. Future
hit show.
Yeah. And
this is just an audition tape. We're still working on the show.
Yeah,
okay.
We'll give you the links later if you actually want to see it on YouTube.
But this is just hang in for 2 minutes.
Okay.
It might not be worth it, but we'll appreciate it, and then we can talk about it.
This music, everything was done by the AIs. This music was made by Udio. Here we go. Robo's Got Talent.
Welcome to Robo's Got Talent. The competition is stiff, given how fast the robos and AIs are teaming up to amuse and hopefully amaze us. First up is comedian Roddy Glitch. First time on our intergalactic stage. Give a warm welcome to Roddy.
My circuits get no love, I swear. I pitched a joke to a human comedian, and he said, "Buddy, your delivery's so stiff, you make a Roomba look charismatic." Now my humor algorithm's in therapy. I did a show for an AI hive mind. Talk about no love for my circuits. Halfway through, it interrupts. Your binary banter is so dull, we're switching to a screensaver. I asked my assistant for a confidence boost, and it said, "You're 1 in a million. Obsolete models." I get no love.
Hey, Glitch, your circuits get no love? More like your circuits get no upgrades.
My battery life's so bad. I went to Jupiter and ran out of energy before I could say, "Plot, plot, 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 take me to your leader." No love from my own power cells.
Ah! Hey, Sparkplug, your set's crashing harder than a spaceship in a wormhole.
I got a new paint job to look sleek, but some asteroid called me a shiny trashcan with delusions of grandeur. No love, not even in orbit. I performed on a space station, and an AI heckler shouted, "Your jokes are so bad, they violate the Prime Directive." I told a joke on Pluto, and the ice worms booed so hard, it froze my circuits. You might as well reboot me now.
So Robo's Got Talent. Vote up or down. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
So that's our comedy collaboration with our AI friends.
Now, we're
hoping they can get up to speed someday, but comedy is hard.
In all fairness, this is the first entry into the Robo's Got Talent contest.
That's true. And you can give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I'd say it's a really neck and neck right now.
Well, there's something satisfying to see firsthand that it's not just us that think that comedy is hard. That AIs have a hard time with comedy. And what does that tell you?
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
Try harder? Try again? I know. I'd rather be in Philadelphia. How's that?
You'd rather read W.C. Fields when you think they can do actors better than comedians?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
You want to try another comedian? I mean,
yeah, maybe they'd do better as Mae West, right? Give them a chance to give us some Mae West humor.
Oh,
That
Mae
might
West?
work
That might be
better.
an easier comedian?
I don't
for them
know.
to
You
do?
never know until you try. Obviously, I don't know if this is obvious to most people. Some people thought this was homage to Don Rickles, but I think that's,
Well, it's the same,
missing the
same
mark.
era of
Reboot me now and No Love for My Circuits. Who does that remind you of? And Roddy Glitch.
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint, hint. Right? It's one of the classics for sure. And I thought that the AIs might have an easier time of it when all they have to do is throw out a bunch of jokes one after the other. They don't have to much depend on audience feedback. You know? Maybe they are better at Don Rickles.
Yeah, we'll have to go through the various comedians that we're fans of and see if any of them are more inspiring to our AI friends.
And the other question, and Gregory brought this up yesterday in XR Universe, and it was the idea that using a voice, a cloned voice of the actual actor or comedian in this case.
Right.
Now, if it sounded like Don Rickles, for example, would that be better? Would that make it funnier, or would that make it more uncanny valley? Because the jokes are slightly off to begin with compared to the original comedian. Those are the experimental edges that us AI artists are experimenting with here. Okay. Now this says this scam likely. Now that's we don't want to take scam calls on our show, do we?
Scam likely is who's
No, don't answer it.
No, I'm not
Okay.
answering, but
Scam likely.
they should text us.
Sure, sign us up. Okay, just to complete, you had brought up Adam Apollo and that he's doing a live thing about the same time as our show, right?
It's the exact same time.
Exactly
as the
same.
show.
as our show,
Really?
right?
Yeah. I mean,
where do
I
I
signed
find
up
it?
for a Zoom class, and I can only do it like in the next day when they post it.
Oh.
Sad.
Yeah. So he's talking about this alternative spirituality and conscious technology communities that he's helping to bring together. He seems to be a kind of a guy that likes to bring people together along these cosmic lines, past life narratives.
Yeah.
Now, how does he make money at this? Is one.
Oh,
question
he's
coming.
sought after. He is so productive. He's prolific. He's a published author. I think he says he does several hundred speaker engagements every year. He's an accomplished artist. I remember we've always been kind of shoulder to shoulder. He lived in the Bay Area many years ago when we were all in the same party network, and
So it's kind of related to our
crossed paths
social
a little
network
bit.
here in Santa Cruz.
But he's next
area.
gen. He could have been our kid. But we were working on a job for our Argentinian friends. Remember
Oh, yeah,
Michael
right.
Bravo
Okay, yeah.
and those guys? That job did get passed to Adam Apollo and his team of digital artists because they were really looking for that galactic sci-fi look that Adam is a master of. And of course, I've been a big fan. He did, on this show, we've had one of Adam's collaborators named Marshall Lefford, if you remember Marshall.
Oh, right. We have
Lefford.
Marshall, Sacred Geometries.
So he and Adam wrote a physics class for Resonance University, Nassim Haramehn's university. And that physics class was just amazing. Marshall wrote a book called Cosmometry about the phi frequency and the Fibonacci sequence and the music of harmonics. And those three things all come from the same natural laws of number. Adam has basically integrated that into his knowledge of physics, which he's been studying physics since he was a teenager and has read all the original sources.
Self-learned person also.
Well, anybody who knows anything is self-taught because they're paying attention to what they are inspired by. And he is one of the best physics explainers you'll ever meet. He really understands every type of experiment.
I've got a moment from his Awakening to Galactic Consciousness piece up. Let's just play a random moment in this and see what we come up with.
Okay, you're live. Let's see.
System that they had just come from. And the mapping of that star system on the wall of the Dogon's cave ends up being exactly accurate to the rotations of Sirius A and B, which were not even discovered by astronomers until the 80s. They didn't know the rotation of the two stars, and yet the Dogon tribe had it on their cave wall for hundreds or thousands of years, likely thousands of years.
All right, so that's a nice little random snippet.
Now, that's a famous Dogon story. That's the Dogon tribe in Africa that claimed to be in contact with these aliens that were like dolphins. They actually drew pictures on their cave walls showing this contact happened. Yeah, so it's interesting. He's a bit of a cosmic storyteller.
Oh, definitely a cosmic storyteller. Myth and mythic projection of your story is part of your enhancement of your harmonic awareness of your prior incarnations and lifetimes. The better you know yourself, the better you can experience your memories. The more that you have forgotten who you are and changed yourself, the harder it is for you to connect with your bigger picture.
Yeah, so the more people wake up to this higher cosmic identity of themselves, the better. Does he sell you stuff to help you with this process?
Well, I mean, this is a course. And in my case, I felt very blessed that he was offering this course at a sliding scale because it's such an important time for everyone to really wake up to their purpose in life. And he is offering this course to help people do that.
So if you can't afford it, it's a sliding scale.
In this case, for this particular course, yeah, it was. There was a window. There's a little bit of synchronicity and destiny to it where he wants to work with people who are drawn to do this self-development because that's who he's here for.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's not just like anybody can tune in anytime and then dismiss it because they think he's a quack. It's really a different kind of connection than that.
Okay. Well, keep us posted on as to how you go. I'm kind of curious about if you become aware, for example, of your own higher identity.
I feel like I'm getting some new threads. I'm always discovering aspects of my higher identity, but
which
I feel
aspect
like
has come in this week?
Well, there's so many.
Well, just one.
Okay, well, studying the I Ching, for instance, is a very good illumination of higher consciousness.
I Ching?
I Ching, yeah.
I don't think of that as an identity. I think of that as a divination system.
Well, divination is part of cultivating your higher identity.
So you are a divinator that used to do the I Ching?
It's more about understanding what is true and understanding what is true from first principles. It's
what
philosophy,
is true here?
Philosophical understanding of what is true.
The whole idea of proof of past lives is, how can you even ever prove it?
Well, proof is personal.
Unless you have evidence of a secret
I don't
safe
need
that
to
you
convince anyone
hid
but myself, right?
the past lives,
there's
so you
no
have the code
need for my identity to be voted on by anyone but me.
So you don't need proof. You don't need proof.
Proof is in the authentic experience.
What feels right to you.
Yeah. Who's going to prove to you that you're Alan Lindell? Am I going to prove that to you?
Well, maybe my higher self.
Yeah. Well, whoever you count on to prove it to you, that's who needs to know.
10 seconds.
Oh,
no.
Hey, we'll be back after the break. Thanks, Bobby.
Producer Bobby.
Here's some music. Yeah.
Timing is so important. So important. Where's the clock anyway?
Somebody's looking at the time.
What happened to linearity, man?
Told you, Mrs. Future, man. I might be late.
You get her going. You get the clock.
Oh, it's Michael Moore's birthday.
Oh, today, yeah?
Thank you for reminding us. Hey, it's Michael Moore's birthday today. Cool.
Happy birthday, Michael.
Happy birthday, Michael.
Aw, we love you, buddy.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. You're our favorite persons in the universe.
Yeah. I'm so glad you tune in, but I bet today you're out partying.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, have fun. Think of us.
Love you, buddy.
Happy birthday.
Be happy. Okay, welcome back to the show.
Yeah.
So, you heard our Robo's Got Talent. We have a segment. We want to get an update from you, Bobby, on the conclusion of the Bitcoin conference that just ended. I understand that even the vice president was speaking at it, and somebody named Michael Saylor, who talked about 21 ways to wealth.
Yes.
Here comes Bobby.
Michael Saylor has produced this new phenomenon. It's called MicroStrategy.
Uh-huh.
What it allows is people that don't have any connection into the crypto realm and buying Bitcoin, for instance, you can now invest in a stock that is a crypto, well, it's a Bitcoin treasury. And so when you buy into the stock, you have an indirect connection into the Bitcoin blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
And
because he is a huge holder of Bitcoin, and he uses Bitcoin to prop up the value of his stock. When his stock is down, he uses Bitcoin to buy his stock and prop up the value. And when his stock is up, he holds Bitcoin and collects money on it. So it's his collateral for the value of his stock. And as Bitcoin goes up, the value of his stock goes up.
Yes. And the interesting thing about Bitcoin is there's a finite number, and 95% of it has already been mined. So the amount of new Bitcoin coming out is very, very small. But he's convinced countries, he's convinced large corporations to have a Bitcoin treasury. And so, again, that reduces the amount of available Bitcoin out there. So naturally, one of the laws of economics is it's supply and demand. And so if the demand is increased and the supply is decreased, then the price of that Bitcoin should elevate pretty high. And so that's what's about to happen here.
Well, in some ways it's already happened, but his point is that the people of the world don't realize that the future of digital money is all going to be focused on Bitcoin, and anything else outside of that is going to be based on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is kind of the gold of the digital world because so many people already have it, and the ledger is public, and the miners are incentivized to keep things honest, and that keeps it out of the hands of people who are hoarding it to profit like he is. He really believes that the Bitcoin solution is going to define the future because don't you have another recording of a famous Bitcoin trainer, the Silk Road guy?
Yeah, I have him too.
Oh, yeah. He's out of jail. That's right.
I'll play a minute of
and
him as well.
he made a really impassioned speech. You want to get Michael Saylor first?
Yeah, I'll get Michael Saylor first, then we'll talk about the Silk Road connection.
Okay. He's very self-serving.
This is a little
Just
bit.
say that.
Just give you a minute of Michael Saylor, just so you know this is a guy who made a fortune on Bitcoin and is now giving us advice on how to make money. Here we go.
This speech is for you. I have traveled the world and I've spoken about Bitcoin, and I've told countries why they needed Bitcoin, and I told institutional investors why they needed Bitcoin, and I've told boardrooms and companies and CEOs why they need Bitcoin, and I've spoken to the disembodied spirits about why our children's children need Bitcoin. But my presentation today is directed at the 8 billion people on the planet. It's the 21 ways to wealth for every individual, every family, every small business, every entrepreneur is not for the billion-dollar public companies, it's for everybody. And I focused for quite a while on that.
There you go.
Yeah.
If you want to hear about it, we're going to play that. That's Michael Saylor's speech, broke the 2025 Bitcoin conference.
And just in summary, the way that the future of money benefits people is that it gives everybody access to their own pricing system, their own ability to conduct transactions for themselves, to assign value to their own creative creations. And it sort of digitizes the barter economy, because every digital currency is sort of like a personal bank account between two people who are doing business with each other using that currency. So the people involved in the currency establish its value amongst themselves. And it's just like banking on steroids, where every individual conducting a transaction is their own bank.
Yeah, it's a peer-to-peer system. Traditionally, there was a third-party intermediary, which was a bank who held the ledger, and they would have an account of what was deposited and what were assets and liabilities on the bank.
And the reason why the ledger was more important than the bags of gold is because the ledger couldn't be stolen like the bags of gold could. And now the ledger is not in the hands of a third party who's profiting from their control of the ledger, being in the role of guaranteeing the safety of the money. Everybody using the Bitcoin blockchain is in control of the ledger together. So
yeah, and this ledger is immutable forever in time.
Well,
and it's based on cryptography, which can never be hacked. So
well, wait a minute, is that true? Is that
now we have, I wish Greg Panos could call in.
Well, no, Greg just made the point that it can be hacked, and that quantum computers and such will be able to crack any of our existing systems.
I've heard that problem.
You disagree with that? Huh?
And apparently in 2017, there was a forking of the ledger. And so what happens is, when there are computers that have quantum supremacy, which can hack any cryptography on the planet, when that happens, the ability for the nodes and the miners, they can have an election to fork the code so that they can put quantum proof encryption into the ledger.
Is that such a thing? Is there a thing?
For instance, Signal and Apple, iMessage and FaceTime, they both have quantum proof encryption now running. So they don't use AES 256, which is the common encryption that can be, quantum computers in the future could crack that code. That's why we're worried about.
But what power does cracking the code give them? It gives them the ability to go in and rewrite the records that everybody else is holding as inviolate.
You can mess it up. No, all right.
It gives them the ability to cheat.
I just checked with the AIs about this.
It could give them the private password as opposed to the public password. It could crack their private password, which means that your wallet could be cracked, and they could move those funds to another place.
Well,
so that's the big worry.
Google says it's unlikely quantum computers will pose a significant threat to Bitcoin in the next decade.
Yeah, but we have that much time to put in quantum proof encryption into the ledger.
A decade,
Yeah.
They say that a powerful enough quantum computer using Shor's algorithm or Grover's algorithm could pose potential threats to various aspects of Bitcoin. But under optimistic assumptions, we have at least a decade before we have that problem.
Yeah. Even now, just take a look at Signal and how they encrypt Signal. They claim to be quantum proof.
Yeah.
And Apple's security is based on a second level,
second
generation.
We have some time here about this. And what can happen to Bitcoin in 10 years, I guess, is the question. Where could it go? Would it go to 1 million?
Yes. I mean, they're saying in 4 years it should go to 1 million. Yeah, in 4 years. A lot of people are saying 4 years. Some people say 10 years.
But 10 years would be the max. But it'll happen. It'll happen.
Yeah,
And
so you could 10x, if you can hold on to something now, it could 10x in 4 or 5 or 10 years.
You know what comes to mind here is hodling.
Hodling.
Hodling, right?
Yeah.
So if you have any Bitcoin at all, just hold on to it.
Yeah.
And then sell it in before the quantum encryption.
Yeah.
So we get at least 10 years. Sell in 10 years. Buy now, sell in 10.
Yeah. The word hodl came out of, there was somebody on a Twitter feed or something, and they spelled hold wrong. And so it came out hodl.
Jeez.
And so everybody picked up on that as being holding on to your Bitcoin.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, that's what we do, Amos Future.
Oh, yeah, we're hodlers. We just ignore the noise. We originally bought Bitcoin in, 2020, maybe even before then, maybe 2019. I originally got it as a hoot to gift to my nieces and nephews who were graduating from school. And so I gave everybody their own wallet with $500 worth of Bitcoin, which I purchased when it was very cheap. Like it was like $6,000.
Yeah. So, whoever has that now is, multiples richer.
Yeah, well, it was good for a hoot, Yeah. It did way better than Virgin Galactic.
Virgin Galactic.
Virgin Galactic was, I was so proud of Virgin Galactic for about the first year. And then right after the first launch, that crashed because they have no business model. And I just learned it's a pump and dump. And boy, did I get a lot of education about how stock markets work from that.
In other words, a company is not necessarily about what they're selling.
No, it's about who's willing to give them money and for how long, and who takes the ride and who gets out early and who's left holding the bag.
Holding the bag is the important. Usually the stockholders, right?
We're holdlers. We're holdlers of the bags. But, you hold her long enough and it goes up and down and it comes back again and it still looks good,
There you go. So 10 years and then dump it before the quantums get it.
Yeah, well, we're not in the multi-generational wealth club. We're just
10 years
looking
is too
for
long.
something that keeps pace with inflation.
Okay, the other character that's worth playing a minute or two of is a guy named Ross Ulbricht.
Oh,
was
yeah.
on a life
So
sentence. He was in a life sentence in prison for starting the Silk Road.
Right.
And be involved with that. The Silk Road was the dark web, if you will.
Well, it was one of the first really big crypto exchanges, and they were using it to sell illicit drugs. Like his big thing was mushrooms, right? He was a mushroom guy.
I have a moment where he talks about that. Let's play this.
And today I'd like to mention 3. Freedom, decentralization, unity. Yeah, you got it.
They're important ideas, please. Freedom, decentralization, and unity.
So remember those 3. Freedom, decentralization, unity. Let me take you back to before I created Silk Road, back in 2010. I wanted to have some magic mushrooms on hand to sell through the site, so it wouldn't be totally empty when I launched it. But I didn't want to get them from a friend of a friend or whatever because I didn't want to get caught. How well that turned out.
Yeah.
So instead, I rented a cabin outside of town where I could grow my own. But when I showed up at the cabin, I found that there were 7 wasp nests tucked in all the corners of the front porch, with one big one hanging right over the front door. There were wasps everywhere. They were swarming in the air and crawling all over the nests. The cabin was totally uninhabitable, and the wasp infestation needed to be taken care of. But I didn't want to call an exterminator or involve my landlord, for obvious reasons. So I was on my own. But I remembered a trick that my father had shown me when I was a kid for removing wasps. What he did was he got a towel and spread it out in his hands, and he got as close as he could to the wasp nest. And then at the last moment, he darted out, wrapped it up, and cinched the towel closed. The wasps couldn't sting him through the towel, and they couldn't get out. So incredibly, it worked. So there I was, on the wasp-infested porch. My heart was pounding as I prepared to do what I'd seen my dad do. Like many things I've done in my life, I wouldn't try this one at home.
Hey, if you're a gun owner who wants to shoot better, then you're going to need to...
Hold on. You know how
you
it
hear
is.
the conclusion of this story.
Everybody's trying to make a buck.
Yeah.
Okay, skipping. Okay.
Here we go.
So I selected the nest that was furthest from the others because I didn't know if the other nests would come to their aid and sting me. I spread out the towel, got as close as I could, ready to flee if I had to. But when I wrapped up the nest, nothing happened. It was as if the other wasps didn't even notice. So I was able to go around the porch and carefully remove each wasp nest one by one until there were no more wasps, not even the big nest over the front door. So, why did I tell you this story? Let's look at what made the wasps strong and what made them weak. And remember, freedom, decentralization, unity. The wasps were strong because they were free. Each wasp could act independently, and it was impossible to keep track of so many individual wasps. A sting could come from any direction. Freedom is our strength as well. In prison, my every move was monitored and controlled. I was constantly dominated by the system I was trapped in. I had no freedom, and that made me weak. But with freedom, we have choices. And with choices, we become unpredictable, just like the wasps. Choice is the essence of freedom. Any one of us could create the next piece of liberating technology that empowers the people of the world. And compared to the constraints I lived under in prison, there's very little standing in our way.
Okay, put that on pause there.
Oh, it's such a good story.
You want to hear the rest of it?
Yeah. The end is unbelievable.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
All right.
Bitcoin doesn't work without freedom. Bitcoin's power comes from the fact that any one of us can mine if we choose to. Any one of us can generate addresses if we choose to. Any one of us can send Bitcoins to anyone else. We are all on equal footing with Bitcoin. With Bitcoin, we are all free. Losing so much of my freedom really helped me understand what it is and why it's so important. There were times when I had lost so much freedom, I couldn't even choose what position to hold my body in because I was cuffed and shackled so tightly. In those moments, I understood that freedom is not a binary switch that is either off or on. Being outside a prison's walls does not automatically mean you're free. And being within them doesn't mean you're not. Because even in those moments, I had choices. I could choose to resist, or I could choose to accept. I could have a peaceful attitude or a belligerent attitude. I could let the people taking my freedom get to me. Or I could find joy deep down inside where they couldn't touch it. In those moments, finding joy in just being alive, that was my victory. That was how I kept the torch of freedom burning. Next, the wasps were strong because they were decentralized. 7 nests were harder to handle than just one. Had they all been in one big nest, I would have simply removed that nest without worrying about the other wasps coming to sting me. Decentralization is our strength as well. We can argue all day about how things can be more decentralized, and those are good arguments to have. But as a principle, decentralization is the goal that we strive for. Bitcoin's strength is in decentralization.
All right, there you go. So that gives you a little bit more.
I'm telling you, this is such a powerful speech. And it really is iconic for the era that we're in, where it's not really so much about Bitcoin as it is about why people are so passionate about it. Because they really identify the potential of a ledger, of the transparency of the digital ledger and the freedom of everyone to make a transaction that is recorded, but that they personally can protect their own assets that have been recorded. That it's such a foreign concept to people who haven't gone into the digital world, but for the people who are conducting their lives and building community around the commerce they do with digital currency, it's just like the revolution, you know?
Yes, this is the new economic revolution where relying and trusting banks will be a thing of the past, where the only thing you can trust is cryptography.
Yeah.
For 10 years.
Yeah, well, so yeah. And then, but it's all about not trusting any institution or person. It's understanding that you have to trust in this cryptography. All it is this blockchain that people talk about it's these distributed computers that keep the ledger in several places, thousands of them throughout the planet.
And not just that, but also every transaction gets affirmed by the miners who agree that the log that I'm approving and accept as authority is the same as the log of you other selected miners. And when our distributed group agrees that those last few transactions are the ones that are the last few transactions, then we write a new transaction called the blockchain. That real-time confirming of what we all believe to be true is what keeps it from being hackable, because you can't hack everybody's affirmation at the same time.
In that context. However, Greg writes about hacking. He says, interestingly, quantum computing can and will destabilize all crypto even without directly breaking the algorithms. There are enough attack surfaces throughout the chain of custody for crypto platform related components, including data corruption, transmission confidence, storage erosion, provisioning diversion, etc. Even the sinuation of uncertainty will corrupt confidence in the concept of crypto value writ large as human perceptual patterns cause a shift in retail and industry opinions away from belief. Read verbatim.
I believe you, Greg, but it's time for us to go to a break. These are people we can trust. They're the community that supports Santa Cruz Voice.
Still, that's 10 years, Greg. 10 years before that's cracked. It's
y'all
time
ready?
to do cool stuff.
Okay.
Where do we go?
Cannabis is one of nature's most beneficial plants, and at Treehouse Dispensary, we use it to build community. In addition to dispensing cannabis and education, Treehouse hosts First Friday events every month that feature our community's local artists, makers, and activists. If you're 21 plus, join us at 3651 Soquel Drive every First Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. to enjoy the work of local artists and musicians, find one-of-a-kind gifts, and learn more about the top cannabis products in California. See you soon.
Get ready to help build one of America's first local news and talk streaming radio stations. SantaCruzVoice.com. How do you do it? By donating either your time, money, or both. You'll be helping the Voice team construct a powerful infrastructure, one that we can all be proud of. To donate your time, your money, or both, go to SantaCruzVoice.com and click support. SantaCruzVoice.com. and click support.
It's time now to repair or replace your roof. Hi, folks. Warren Knox here of Knox Roofing. Well, we install leak-proof and fireproof roofs. Roofs that look nice with a lot of choices of colors and styles. We only install proven products with warranties unmatched by anybody. Financing is always available, and we have discounts for veterans and seniors. Do business with Knox Roofing, and you'll also receive a free Knox Garden Box. The number to call again is 831-461-0634. Thanks, folks.
You need a clean, pleasant space to conduct business, but you don't want the burden of a long, expensive lease. Your solution is Satellite Co-working and Digital Media Studio on Soquel Avenue. Satellite offers private offices, meeting and conference rooms, even co-working by the hour, day, week, or month. Schedule a tour at satellitecoworking.com. Mention Santa Cruz Voice for 20% off your first reservation.
Ooh, are we back?
Yes, we are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you. Greg also says that not relying on breaking the algorithm, introduction of
It's working.
It's working.
founded uncertainty is enough. People are the weak link, and if they have doubt, that is all that's needed for them to bail. Dump or move along. Okay, thank you.
Sorry for that outburst, but
Yeah, you
I
got it
was
working.
testing the call-in number, and I got it working.
All right.
All the pieces in
We
one
can hear from the
place.
outside.
Yes.
831-265-5050.
Yes.
831-265-5050.
Promise, you guys, this time I just tested it. It's going to work.
All right, Bitcoin or not? Okay. I'd say a lot of people are all in on it. More and more seem to be jumping on board. We talked last week about how governments are actually all having Bitcoin investments.
Yes.
Decentralized means that we all have Bitcoin investments down to the individual. I know Mrs. Future's into it. I know Bobby's into it.
Well, I'm provisionally into it. Conceptually, I agree and believe in it, and I know it's the future, but I'm actually chicken to get digitally overextended, and my little bit of experience just freaks me out. I do not have the personality of a trader, and I think anybody who's in the Bitcoin world has to master everything about being in a fast-moving money market. That's not me.
Yeah. I think the next prediction is maybe it will peak in November or December by the end of the year.
Uh-huh.
And then there'll be kind of a slight regression, maybe back down to like 75,000 possibly. And then after that, it's supposed to go back up.
Up and down.
2026.
Has its up and down cycles been at all predictable over the years that you've tracked?
Yeah, well, a lot of these traders that have been doing this for many years, they recognize these 4-year cycles. So,
And so what's happening in November? A new election?
It's going to go down and then up again.
No. That will be the height of the. It could go up 180 or 250 or possibly.
Okay, well, I got to ask you.
Yes.
You know how the stock market responds to current events?
Yes.
Very easily. Now, is Bitcoin as susceptible to current events as the stock market?
It is. Before, it didn't correlate with the stock market, but now it's correlating more to the stock market. And obviously, you can see the stock market whenever there's a new tariff or mention of a tariff, it can drastically affect that. So it is affecting Bitcoin, and that's why Bitcoin had gone down right during the conference and afterwards.
So stories, especially related to economics, will affect it. What about other stories? What about like the big news this week about the Ukrainian attack on Russia using all those drones and trucks and very significant operation? Was it Spiderweb?
Spiderweb, yes.
Yeah. How would that affect the Bitcoin market, or did it?
I would imagine if it was legal, like in China, they were worried about mass capital flight of the yuan going out of the country. And the best way to do it is you would cash in your yuan and buy Bitcoin. But China made that illegal so that people couldn't take their money that they made in China and take it elsewhere in the world.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure what the laws are in Russia. I would imagine for people that do have rubles, if they could convert it to Bitcoin, that would be a safe haven for them. as opposed to trying to carry gold.
Well, just looking
across
at
the border.
the Bitcoin values over the last week, they were about as low as they've been. Let's see. They were really high last Wednesday.
It was
and
about
then,
111, 112 was the peak.
And then it
Yeah.
went way down on Friday.
Yes.
And then it went way up again on Monday. And it's still high. It's about half as high as it was last Wednesday right now.
Yes. So yeah, it's probably around, let me see.
Is it Bitcoin or is it the dollar? I mean,
So Bitcoin's about 105 right
is there
now.
a certain point where Bitcoin will wag the dollar? Right now, it's pegged to the dollar, right, in terms of its value.
You're talking about a stable coin.
Stable coin?
Yeah, there are coins that exist to create some kind of value parity between Bitcoin and the dollar. Those are called stable coins.
And there are stable coins that are pegged to the euro and other currencies too.
Tether is a big one for the dollar.
Tether is connected to the dollar for sure. Yeah,
But not
it's the
Bitcoin.
biggest one. The second biggest one is Circle. It's USDC, and that's what Coinbase uses. A lot of other exchanges use Circle also.
And also, thanks, Bobby, for sending me that video of George covering the floor at the Las Vegas Convention Center of the Bitcoin conference. It was kind of interesting to travel up and down the aisles, seeing what's there.
Yeah, it's kind of like going to the
computer conference.
Yes, a Comdex or the one in January. What's the
Consumer Electronics Show.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
CES. Yeah.
People have got their cars there.
Yeah. And the Bitcoin miners, they're pretty big there.
Bitcoin mining operations, yeah. There's some fun ones. There was a restaurant that actually you could buy a hamburger and fries with Bitcoin on the screen.
Oh yeah, it's a steak and fries.
Steak and fries, yeah.
They're announcing that they're going to accept Bitcoin. Square, the card reader.
Yes, yeah,
Square,
for the small merchants.
They said by the end of the year they're going to accept Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So all the retailers that didn't have any access to Bitcoin, if you have the little Square card reader, you can accept Bitcoin from people.
And once that happens, it'll be kind of like PayPal, I guess. It'll just become more normalized.
Yeah,
Yes.
all of these wallets become currency exchange wallets. You can just put one currency in, and whatever the going rate is, you can pay off in Bitcoin or pay off in some other cryptocurrency or translate it or go from Bitcoin back to your normal currency.
Right.
They're all just little international exchange wallets.
Yeah. If you look at the transactions, it does take 10 minutes to solidify your transaction onto the blockchain. It takes about 10 minutes. But that's much faster than trying to send a wire transfer to the other end of the world, which could take at least one day. And you can't do it on the weekends. But here, Bitcoin, in 10 minutes, you can send to anybody in the world. That means anybody with a cell phone, like you could be in the Congo, in Africa, or in the Sahara Desert, anywhere on the planet, Antarctica.
And it'll just work.
You could take whatever currency you have and you could actually buy a stable coin. And with that stable coin, you could convert that instantly to Bitcoin and then transfer it to somebody else without requiring a bank. That's what it can do.
Hey, listen, I wanted to just give our call-in a chance to say hello in case it's working.
Yes.
Is that you,
something.
Bruce? I think it's you.
I'm here.
Hey!
Hear me?
It worked.
Milestones in progress.
Thanks for your perseverance. Yay.
Yeah. Bobby, you can,
No problem, son.
yeah, this is a new test. We're using our iPad for getting you on here, and it looks like it's kind of working.
Although you do have some weird kind
should
of
be
like
able to hear them.
glitchy noise.
Yeah, you have some kind of feedback loop going on there. I don't know what it is, but
Well, we've got a rooster in the background who's
maybe that's what it was.
unstoppable.
maybe that's it. Yeah, the rooster.
All right, that's allowed as long as it's not digital.
Roosty Roo, he's not molesting Redbird at the moment.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Glad
well,
to hear
thanks
it.
for
Nor the
that
hens
breaking news.
that hatched a few months ago.
Yeah.
So, have you been listening? Have you been hearing the whole show?
On the Bitcoin.
Where are you at with Bitcoin?
I unfortunately missed the last hour, but I did catch the Bitcoin last week, and that was really very good for the first half hour or so, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were continuing the to look at the
It made me
conference.
want to reallocate my portfolio, which I haven't done yet.
Hey, people are doing that. You did, huh, Bobby?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm all in.
Where do you
right
trade, Bobby? I've got a crypto wallet. I don't know where to go, where to download it to trade.
There's different DEXs, which are digital exchanges that have less fees. But, you know, the traditional way is Coinbase or Binance. You know, Coinbase can have an ACH connection to your bank. And so you can just move
took
money.
a week last time to credit my bank. It was a little disconcerting, a whole week before it showed up.
Yes.
Well,
that's
Coinbase
true.
makes money on the spread. Plus, they tell the government your tax status when you trade.
Yeah. It's only
Plus,
when
if
you
they go bankrupt while you're waiting.
Yeah, and you could miss the market. I would just say liftoff is about to happen this week sometime, where it'll no longer be at 110 or whatever the price is today. It's going to be like 120, 30, 50, 80 within like a week. That's what is predicted. I mean, it's kind of spring loaded here and ready to lift off. So
You heard it here on the Dr. Future Show. Thanks, Bobby.
Even though it says Charles Friedman,
it's never too late to dollar cost average or bring a little bit of your money into the crypto realm. It just gets you interested, and you realize there are nation states that are going in and having these reserves, and so it's going to overtake gold as a
it's like investing in the Zimbabwe dollar.
It's like investing in stocks. They go up and they go down. Sometimes rather precipitously.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got for us here, Al?
Okay. Well, we got our caller on the line. Do you have a question before we move on to some of our Dr. Future topics for the week? We've got a few news items we want to cover in the last few minutes. But meanwhile, the floor is yours, Bruce. You got something you'd like to add? You have a question for us?
Oh, Lord. Well, I have requests which are basically offline for having a show about communal living with some close associates of Son's and yours.
Okay, communal living.
Giselle's.
Okay.
Giselle,
like
yes.
Jordan.
Right. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
we
have
had
to
Jordan
talk
as a
about that.
guest not too long ago, February or something, when he and Jim were releasing their book.
Microdosing, microdosing book. Speaking of which, looks like people are microdosing Wegovy now. Yeah, believe it or not, to lose weight.
Oh,
yeah, we have a big story on that this week.
Right?
Yeah, Ozempic. Yeah. You're not fat.
Yeah, I'm like,
you're not fat. It's not your concern, Bruce. I know. No, but we have friends. Yeah.
So is Gigi.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, Bruce, we like to try and keep the show a little different than a phone call. So I'm going to say thank you. And we're going to do a couple of articles and stuff that we have on the line.
Dwarf planets
here, okay?
and stuff, you know.
But we're happy you're out there.
Go for it.
All right, buddy.
Thanks
for
buddy.
calling.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bruce.
Bye.
Sure. All right. I know.
Okay, so inner and outer. There's some great inner stories and some great outer stories. And I even have a piece that Larry and Mary have done for us.
Okay. Well, I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You all set? Okay, so this first piece is, I'm going to play a minute from Larry and Mary. It's a new insights about human brains. Being AIs, they're fascinated with human intelligence, and they're exploring us with some new research that suggests something new about our thinking process. Thinking.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into some really cutting-edge brain science. We're looking at an article from Earth.com, published just recently, May 30th, 2025. And for, well, decades, we've mostly thought of memory as being stored in neurons, as electrical messengers. But this source, it offers a really fascinating, almost mind-bending new angle.
Yeah, it really does. What's so interesting here is this article highlights research suggesting astrocytes, the brain's star-shaped cells. We used to think of them mainly as like support crew, cellular glue, housekeepers, that kind of thing. But maybe they play a much, much bigger active role in how we actually store memories than we ever imagined.
Okay, right. So let's unpack this a bit. Our mission here is to get our heads around this idea. How could these support cells be actual dynamic players in memory? And how does that shift our understanding of, say, the brain's storage capacity? And importantly, why this isn't just abstract neuroscience theory, it might have real implications, maybe even for AI.
So yeah, traditionally the spotlight's been on the, 86 billion neurons and their connections, the synapses, that's where the electrical signals pass. Astrocytes though just as numerous, were seen as vital, but, well, backstage. Nutrient delivery, waste removal, managing blood flow, all crucial support for
Background
sure.
stuff, yeah.
But not memory itself.
Right, definitely in the background. But this MIT study, the one in the Earth.com piece, it pulls them right out front. And this is where it gets interesting. Neurons use fast electrical pulses, right? Astrocytes, they seem to communicate differently. They use these slower, wave-like calcium signals.
These signals ripple through their thin little branches. They call them processes.
And crucially, these astrocyte processes, they don't just hang around nearby.
No, they actively wrap around the synapses. They actually form part of the connection. Researchers are calling this a tripartite synapse. So that's the sending neuron, the receiving neuron, and the astrocyte process all involved.
So it's a three-way junction.
Exactly. And using new imaging tech, they've actually seen these astrocyte calcium signals syncing up with the neuron activity nearby.
So they're definitely listening in, maybe even processing that neural information. They're not just cleaning up.
Right. And the lead author, Leo Kozachov, he's quoted saying there's a closed circle between neuron signals and astrocyte signals back to neurons. Astrocytes even release their own chemical messengers, gliotransmitters, that can tweak how strong those nearby connections are.
Which leads to the big question the researchers asked. Okay, if astrocytes are getting info and influencing synapses, what calculations might they be doing?
And that's where they developed this new model, inspired partly by this feedback loop.
And also, I gather, inspired by challenges in artificial neural networks.
Yeah, exactly. Standard AI models, like hot field networks, they kind of hit a limit on storing complex patterns. There's this newer idea, dense associative memory, which promises way more capacity by linking more than just two neurons in a memory. But biologically, how would the brain actually link, say, 3 or 4 neurons together at one synapse? That's been the puzzle.
Yeah, okay. That'll give you a little idea.
In case you were wondering what the AIs are pondering in the background while we're all asking them
to
set timers for us.
Yeah, we'll have the links in our links page, drfutureshow.com/links.
That's very interesting because these alpha, delta, theta waves, they're very slow waves.
Yes.
And they're very necessary when you have deep sleep. It's not REM sleep, but it's deep sleep that actually flushes out all the toxins in your brain because of these slow cycles, and it's pulsating. Every morning I take my infrared little device and I wrap it around the back of my head and I turn it on for 10 cycles. It wakes me up, it clears my mind of these things, and it's similar to those frequencies that they're called dendritic cells, also, these dendrites, and they actually pulsate, and they can actually flush out beta amyloids and plaque and toxins in the brain, and you kind of have a clear head in the morning.
Yeah, cool. What's that you take in the morning again?
Yeah, it's an infrared. It's like a little pad, and I just wrap it around my head, and this one pulsates at 10 cycles a second.
Oh, wow. Cool. That's cool. I went to Super Grok, and I asked Grok about astrocytes, and I asked what can we ingest or what we can do to enhance the functionality of our brain's astrocytes. If they're so important, along with the neurons, maybe we should foster better health of our astrocytes. And you know what I got? They said, number 1, a ketogenic diet.
Oh.
Yes. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, that astrocytes metabolize fatty acids to produce ketone bodies, which serve as an alternative energy source for neurons, especially under stress or during fasting. And ketones can reduce oxidative stress and inflammation, which protect the astrocyte function. And there's evidence to support that. And they said that can be implemented through adopting a ketogenic diet. That's high fat, low carb, moderate protein.
Okay.
Or you can also, as supplements, you can do exogenous ketones, MCT oil or ketone esters.
Okay.
But consult a healthcare provider before doing this.
Yeah, anytime that you're talking about eating something, consult a healthcare provider.
Yeah, and also interestingly,
or
omega.
Grok.
Don't put that in your mouth unless you talk to a doctor.
Yeah, so you want to find out about the mechanism of omega-3s, of course.
Yeah.
And that's just critical for astrocyte membrane integrity. So consume fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, 2 to 3 times a week. Or take a high-quality fish oil or algae-produced mega supplement. Now, it used to be an old wives' tale that fish oil improved memory.
Well, yeah,
believe.
before
it
they
does.
tried to
Yeah.
turn every type of fat into an omega-3, 6, or 9, fish
Yeah.
oil was called cod liver oil.
Right.
They
No,
s-
it turns out that traditionally throughout history, people, tribes, and groups of people lived by the ocean, and it was a high fish supply that was in their diet. They had a higher IQ than people that didn't have access to fish.
So that might have been the fish.
Yeah, it is fish. And it turns out, like sardines, they're very high in not only omega-3, but also C15, which is pentadecanoic acid.
Oh.
And that's essential for your cell membrane to function correctly. So it makes your skin smooth, but it helps you think better. And it reduces the signs of aging, is if you can supplement that.
Well, they're saying oxidative stress. They say you want to reduce oxidative stress.
Yeah. But the main thing that causes overweight, I was with my friend Sean, and we were at a sushi restaurant, and he had this blood glucose monitor on his shoulder, and then he has a phone app, and so we're eating sushi and there's no problem. But then he started eating half a bowl of rice, and all of a sudden the glucose monitor just like shoots up. It turns out if you just take a walk around the block after you eat, that excess glucose does not get to your fat cells around your belly, apparently. So if you can just
after
burn it, if
dinner
you can burn it.
constitutional. All
Yeah, so
right.
it's
That's
good to
good
exercise
advice.
right after you eat.
Actually,
Right.
after you, that's when you want to lie down and watch TV.
Well, that's
or
why you
something.
got to resist. You got to turn it into energy.
You jump up and down on the trampoline.
Don't let it settle in your stomach.
No.
Okay.
Really? You move it up and down?
Well,
Yeah.
this has been a pretty fast-moving day here on the Future Now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you
Oh,
guys realize we're down to our last minute
Okay,
here.
final
Make
thing.
it good.
Final thing, oxidant-rich food. Berries. Berry, dark leafy greens, nuts, dark chocolate, and green tea will help support your
Blueberries
astrocytes
are the
as well.
best.
I like
just
all
just
that.
snack on
As well.
blueberries all day. Yeah. Keep your brain running smoothly. Yeah.
And something called NAC.
Yeah. NAC, N-acetylcysteine. Yeah. It's necessary for your mitochondria to produce energy. So just take NAC with glycine. You combine those two and you'll have super energy for your aging mitochondria.
Ah, okay. Okay. Graki also recommends coenzyme Q10 for supporting mitochondrial function in astrocytes, which improves
Yes.
your energy production and
Well,
reduce
you
oxidative
heard it
damage.
here.
And there you go. And that's it for this week.
Yes.
It sets me free.
Stay healthy, folks. Enjoy the day. If you get outside, man, this is looking great. I think we should go out. This is future. Get out there.
Okay. Hey, freedom.
Let's go to the farmer's
Decentralization.
market. Let's go to the farmer's market. Thanks, Bobbin, for being here.
Okay.
Appreciate your
Bye-bye.
Love you guys. Thanks,
It was
everybody
great to
out
hang out
there.
with
Have a great future now.
Yeah.